Good afternoon. The definition of metabolic liver disease, that's very important for us to understand which are those cases which we call metabolic liver disease. Any inborn error of metabolism where liver becomes a clinical entity, whether in the form of abnormal liver functions or in the form of maybe enlarged liver, maybe liver failure. But liver as a clinical entity in any inborn error, that inborn error will be called as a metabolic liver disease. Why is it important that we are talking about it? Because there's so many cryptogenic cases that we have in our own centers, and maybe these are MLDs which have remained undiagnosed. These MLDs could be treatable, and we can easily treat and save these children, so it is important for us. And a lot of them can be treated with simple dietary therapy, like you saw in the last case. Just removing fructose was enough. Patient and graft survival after liver transplant in MLDs has been seen to be much better than the other children who are receiving liver transplant, and hence we should try to identify MLDs and try and treat them logically. And then, of course, even if we are not able to save this particular child, a genetic counsel for the future family will help us if we know that what was the disease in the child who died. And which MLDs to detect? If I get lost in these thousands and thousands of MLDs, that would be very difficult for me to give you any messages. So it shouldn't be an exhaustive lab work, but the emphasis should be on the curable, at least palatable, and those who can receive a liver transplant and be treated completely. The emphasis should be on those. What are the red signs? Already people have been talking about red signs. Moinak showed that the family history is so important, and this is what I'm showing in the first slide, that the family history is very, very important. Less males in the family. It could be an X-linked metabolic liver disease that we are dealing with. Neonatal deaths, urea cycle defect, you will have grandmothers having 7 or 8 neonatal deaths. So that kind of a history has to be taken. A mother who is carrying a FAOD or fatty acid oxidation defect may have these elevated enzymes, hemolysis, HELP kind of a picture. So this should be all asked about. And you get indicators there, you come closer to the diagnosis. Very important indicator is the recurrence of whatever symptomatology is there, the recurrence of that in states of catabolic stress. And what catabolic stress? Child might have fever, and he may have these symptomatologies along. Child might have diarrhea, he may have this symptomatology. Child may have starvation, he will have this symptomatology. So he may have had a surgery, and he had so any symptomatology which recurs with catabolic stress has to be suspected. The next thing is any specific food avoidances, like we saw in the last case. Special odors, although special odors I have not seen them really helping out much. And the disproportionate amount of synthetic liver dysfunction to the other liver dysfunction. Like bilirubin may not be that raised, AST/ALT may not be that raised, but the albumin is very low. The INR is very high. Now this shows that there is disproportionate amount of synthetic liver dysfunction, and that should again be an indicator in your mind that maybe we are dealing with metabolic liver disease. Finally, if you have signs of failure to thrive, like you were seeing in these last two cases, intractable rickets, multisystemic involvement, hypotonia, CNS involvement, kidney involvement, these should again raise the bell in your mind. And how is MLDs affecting the liver? What are the various presentations? If you see, these are the 5 presentations. Among them, the first one, that is a sick child who comes to you. What could be this sick child having? These are within the sick child, there could be 2 kind of presentation. One could be a child who's come to you with encephalopathy, Rees syndrome, and cyclical vomiting kind of a picture. The other could be a child who has actually acute liver failure. Other than that, you may have a cholestatic liver disease, you may have just organomegaly, like we've been seeing, hepatomegaly, hepatosplenomegaly, and cirrhosis with portal hypertension could be another presentation. And based on this, you can even think of the various MLDs. So the idea is screen all infants and children, adolescent presenting to you with liver disease, if with this kind of risk factors. If one risk factor is present, then this child actually merits a metabolic screen. Depending on which kind of presentation is there, we have developed our own protocols. And I'll quickly go through those protocols with you. That's all that I want you to understand, that we have developed a protocol-based approach to ensure that we cut cost for the patient, we do not do unnecessary investigation, and we do not get lost in the maze of various multiple investigations that we have done. So the first protocol that we have developed is for the approach to a child with encephalopathy or Rees syndrome or cyclical vomiting. The first thing that we do in this child is do the ammonia. If the child has hyperammonemia, we do the lactate. We find the lactate to be absent, normal. In that case, this child could be a urea cycle defect. With only hyperammonemia being the only metabolic disorder, he could be urea cycle defect. This could be a neonate who's come to your who you're seeing in an NICU. This could be even an older child. So we have to see if it's a neonate, it's possibly a complete deficiency of the enzyme is there. But those patients, children who have little variance or less deficiency of the enzyme, they may present to you later in age, in life. If supposing you find the lactate to be high with hyperammonemia, look for hypoglycemia. If hypoglycemia is present but the ketones are absent, you are maybe dealing with a fatty acid oxidation defect. At the same time, if you find the ketonemia to be present, in that case, you may be dealing with mitochondrial defects. So in FAOD, there'll be no ketones but hypoglycemia present. Whereas in mitochondrial defects, you will have ketonemia as well as hypoglycemia. And like I said, a complete enzyme makes a child present in the neonatal period. Otherwise, children will become in the later on age group. Another very important thing is in the this is for the neonatologist. When you see a child, becoming encephalopathic right after birth, immediately after birth, possibly you are dealing with a energy deficient disorders. Whereas if you see a child having a wellness period after birth and then deteriorating again, possibly you're dealing with a toxic variety of these disorders. For the same encephalopathic child, if you do not find hyperammonemia and you do find the metabolic acidosis and increased lactate with hypoglycemia not being present, in some of the mitochondrial disorders, you may not find hypoglycemia to be present. Whereas if you do find hypoglycemia present in the presence of increased lactate, possibly you're dealing with gluconeogenetic disorders like we have been discussing. HFI is a gluconeogenetic disorder. So these patients are, even GSDs are gluconeogenetic disorders. So we keep this in mind. Gluconeogenetic disorders should be kept in mind because they are very common. You will have metabolic acidosis, increased lactate, and hypoglycemia. Next is a child with ALF. This cute little box that we were just talking about, these are the 5 tests or 6 tests that we do in all my patients with ALF or all my patients where I'm suspecting metabolic liver disease, which is a fasting blood sugar, urine NGRS, alpha-fetoprotein, ABG will tell us about the lactate also in there, and the ketones. So based on this, if you find hypoglycemia with increased lactate in a patient with acute liver failure, and lactate much more than what you would find in advanced liver disease, NGRS showing that there is NGRS present in the urine, think of galactosemia. Think of HFI. And to differentiate between the two, we have just learned between these two boys who have so aptly told us how to differentiate these two cases. The third is tyrosinemia, which Vikrant presented, and there you will find the AFP high and urine succinyl acetone. So I go quickly through this. Whenever you're suspecting FAOD, like I told earlier, there will be hypoketotic, hypoglycemia, and if you're suspecting FAOD, go for acyl-carnitine. I'm not doing acyl-carnitine for all my galactosemias and for my tyrosinemias. I'm only doing acyl-carnitine where I'm suspecting FAOD. In an ALF, you may also have sometimes the lysosomal storage disorder, like what Sir was talking about, Wallmann's disease, which will give you very little time. It's not curable. You can see some radiological features with adrenal calcification. And a plasma aminoacidogram or a urine orotic acid, I will only do where I know a ALF has come to me without hypoglycemia. ALF doesn't even have increased lactate. There's no NGRS in the urine. Only then I would think of urea cycle defect and go ahead and do the aminoacidogram. So I'm not spending money on a urinary acidogram in all patients, only in this particular group. Cholestatic is very simple. Pruritus present with jaundice present. Most likely there is cholestasis. If pruritus is present, then look at the GGT. If it is low, we are dealing with PFIC 1 or 2. But if the GGT is high, then we are dealing with PFIC 3. And if there's no cholestasis present, if there's no pruritus present, still look at the GGT. If the GGT is low, then we are dealing with a bile acid synthetic defect. But if the GGT is high with no pruritus, then possibly it could even be an FAOD, it could be a cystic fibrosis like somebody else was saying, and a citrullinemia, citrin deficiency. A liver biopsy can settle a lot of diagnostic dilemmas here. Hyperammonemia, plasma aminoacidogram we would do. A low urea would be present in urea cycle defect. Okay, so I just go forward with hepatomegaly and hepatosplenomegaly, and I'm not going to really spend too much time because we've already discussed cases here. Hypoglycemia, elevated lactate. But if the hypoglycemia and elevated lactate is not present in a child who has hepatomegaly, then you should think of Wilson's disease or a cholesterol ester storage disorder. If it's hepatosplenomegaly, do a bone marrow. That will help you in deciding which of the lysosomal storage disorder is it. And some other tests, confirmatory test, of course. The final protocol is for the cirrhotic child with suspected. If he presents to you with hypoglycemia, HFI can do cirrhosis. We had one child, and that you should think about. If there is no hypoglycemia, GSD type 4. If you have elevated lactate is absent, Wilson's again is an important thing. Gaucher's can cause cirrhosis. Hemochromatosis can cause cirrhosis. So these things can be done. You can look at the bone marrow, you can look at the liver biopsy and decide. Quickly, I'll go through the liver, the ILBS data in the final this thing and show you as to how are we really how much is this helping out? This protocol-based approach is helping out ILBS. Total cases that we have screened up till now with this is about 417. The total MLDs that we picked up in these patients is 119, which is 28.5%. And in the indeterminate or the cryptogenic cases have gone down to 5.9%. This is the most important, I think, advantage that we have if we look at the MLDs very carefully, because we'll find more and more MLDs and less of the cryptogenic cases. So the commonest presentation of MLD in our series has been organomegaly, and 20 to 25% of various presentations may have MLD. I will give you old data. From AIMS, from PGI Chandigarh, or is it SGPGI, both have looked at MLDs and they have found less number of MLDs in their series. Maybe we were not doing as much cleanly, we were not looking at it, and maybe they had more of cryptogenic. You can see the cryptogenic a lot more in their series. So this is the advantage of this protocol-based, because you're not lost, you reach a place and then do a confirmatory test. The take-home message from me is protocol-based approach can identify MLDs, would also help in reducing the cryptogenic or the indeterminate liver disease. Organomegaly is the commonest presentation of metabolic liver disease. Thank you.